news and basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast.
NBA, some college, a little bit of everything.
You know, what can I say? But it wasn't going to happen here with him.
This episode of Bob, Ryan, and Gary Tanguay is brought to you by PrizePicks. It is the holiday season, the best time of the year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, where to eat, all that sort of stuff, who's been naughty, who's been nice, which game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right. And that is always PrizePicks. Bob, you have been bullish, to use a term of another team, on the Knicks, and your love for New York continues.
Well, it's not that, the love for New York. I do love New York City, but I'm not a fan of the New York teams. But I am a respectful admirer of what the Knicks are doing, and I like the team. I mean, I could root for that team. I think they put together a collection of talent, and they have improved the team after a year in which they won 51 games and were beaten in the playoffs by Indiana, and the whole story, and fired the coach, Tom Thibodeau. And it turns out that maybe it was a good idea. People were all sad about Tom, and people liked Tom, and you know, is it all his fault? Well, they've improved the roster, but the issue of him was overplaying the starters. That's what people said, and now they've addressed that problem lately with Jordan Clarkson in the offseason, he's still got bullets left in his chamber, folks. That guy can come off the bench and score. And lately, the big revelation of the last week is second-year player Tyler Kolek, who was last year's number one. He's a point guard out of Marquette, and I liked him at Marquette a lot, but he didn't get much playing time at all last year. Suddenly, he's become a major adjunct to their offense, and last night when they won a close game with Indiana, he had another big game. Anyway, the Knicks won the cup, okay, and they will not put a banner up, they say. I wonder how this is going to go with Adam Silver. Yeah, we all think that's appropriate, but Adam Silver may not think that's appropriate.
That's an excellent point.
And both the Bucks, the Lakers and Bucks, the first two winners in 23 and 24, put up banners, and I don't think Adam Silver is going to be very happy. Now, how much pressure he can exert and in the matter, we'll see. I don't know, but I will stay tuned on that one. Okay. But the Knicks, I like their attitude. Their attitude is, hey, and that's nice, but we want another banner. There's a much more significant banner we'd like to hang, and that's the way they should be thinking. Okay. They're in the mix in the East. There's no question in my mind. And the two-headed center monster with Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson, who, by the way, had a 10 offensive rebound game the other night. I think he's the best offensive rebounder in the league, and he's a major factor. Now let's talk about the Knicks in general and why they're so hot to try. They got a history here. They haven't won a championship since 1973. This will be going on. It'll be 53 years when those playoffs start next year, and that's hard to believe, but it's true. They've been to the finals 3 times since then. In '94 and '95, they lost to Houston and San Antonio respectively. Then they entered a dreadful period of time when the 21st century came. After being in the finals in '99, a real surprise one. That was a shocker. Nobody saw that one coming. They wound up losing to San Antonio. But that was a big, wow, that came out of nowhere. Then they reverted. And from 2001 until since they won one playoff series going into last year, between 2001 and 2023, they won one playoff series. And it's been a bad century, this century for them. Not suddenly, but they've rebuilt, and now they're in the mix. Now, what's the point of all this? I think we have to do a little history here. The New York Knicks, back were founded along with the Celtics. They played the very first NBA game, by the way, historically in 1946 in Toronto. How's that, ladies and gentlemen? And they played the first NBA game, and they were mainstay of the NBA, and they won the finals 3 straight years in 51, 2, and 3. 1951 team, by the way, came close to making sports history. They were down 0-3 to the Rochester Royals in the finals, and won three in a row, forcing a seventh game, which went down to the wire, down to the final seconds, and they lost that game to Rochester. That's how close they came to beating the Celtics, beating the Red Sox, by a lot of years. But anyway, the Knicks, their turning point in their history, that when they had a great run, was on the 19th of December, 1968. What happened that day? They traded Walt Bellamy and Howard Comives to the Detroit Pistons for Dave DeBusschere. That made the Knicks whole. And then that enabled Willis Reed to revert to his natural position, center. He was playing power forward alongside Walt Bellamy. And he wasn't getting the full benefit of his talent. DeBusschere was the missing link that they needed. And he was a guy that launched them on a 5-year run or 6-year run, let's say 8, 9, 0, and which they won 2 championships, lost in the finals, and they were a perennial power in those days. And DeBusschere affected 2 franchises because the Celtics could not get over the hump until they found a way to combat Dave DeBusschere, and that guy turned out to be Paul Silas. And until they traded for Paul Silas, DeBusschere was wrecking them. They could. John Havlicek would love him, God love him, I love him, but he couldn't guard Dave DeBusschere and a power forward. He wasn't going to guard a power forward. And DeBusschere had his way with the Celtics until Silas came along. Anyway, the 1969-70 Knicks, Gary. I'm a long prelude here. Every time I get into this topic, I have to look up and say, "Please, Red, forgive me for what I'm about to say." It's the most important team in NBA history, the 69-70 Knicks. Why do I say that? It's because after the Celtics have won 11 championships in 13 years, the NBA still only had a certain level of in the pecking order of American sport. Okay? It changed dramatically when the Knicks of 69-70 started attracting major attention. New York is the center of entertainment, the center of advertising, center of media in those days. And the Knicks captured the imagination of those components. And that team was the most important team in focusing attention on the NBA, sadly, more than any of the Celtic teams had ever done. And
well, it makes sense. You're talking about commerce. Makes complete sense.
And of course, Red was, grousing about it. We won 11 championships. He's right. But he couldn't. The fact is, that 69-70 Knicks team was a turning point in NBA history, by the way.
It totally makes sense, Bob. I understand it. I mean, like you just said, Madison Avenue, New York City, old Broadway.
But they have not capitalized on it in terms of championships since 1973.
Right.
And that's good. Meanwhile, there's never an empty seat.
Well, I was going to ask you that question. You've been to every arena. You've been to an arena or a basketball game in every state, correct? After your North Dakota trip?
I've been to a sporting event in every state.
A sporting event in every state. So, where would you rank the Madison Square Garden, New York Knicks environment?
When the Knicks are good, that building rocks. I was at both the old one, the original. Well, it wasn't technically the original because there was it was the second one.
Right.
It was built in 1924 at 40th on 9th Avenue, 8th Avenue between 48th and 49th. And that's where it was. And anyway, and then the current one, which is a Penn Station in the between 33rd and 34th. Anyway, it rocks. It's a vibrant, exciting venue when the Knicks are good and there's things going on in Madison Square Garden. It's right up there. So definitely the Knicks and it's rocking now with the Knicks. And it's good. It's good for the league. It's always good to have a polarizing team. People love New York or hate New York, and yeah. But if they're just lousy, what's the point? And we missed all that. But we're going to get it back now because the Knicks are good.
Well, what we do have when Tatum comes back certainly is a New York-Boston rivalry again.
Yeah, and of course the Knicks beat the Celtics last year, and people have to be honest here. They were winning that series. They were en route to winning that series, whether Tatum stayed healthy or not.
Oh, there's no question. The
Once he got
Celtics,
hurt,
the Knicks
okay,
outplayed
it
the
was over.
Celtics.
But the
Celtics
Knicks had
outshot
the
them.
upper hand in that series at that point. And
Yeah.
so, but anyway, I think it's nice. It's good for the league to have a team in New York that's important. They have it back in now, and their first little baby step on the way is win the cup. They win the cup.
Now, I want to talk about Mike Brown a little bit because we've talked about the difference in coaches and how people originally thought that Dolan really messed up, that this was a bad move, but it's worked out for the better. Tell us your impressions of Mike Brown, and do you think he's underrated?
Well, maybe it's so. I mean, he had a kind of a good resume. I'm not sure. He's a people guy, first of all. He's not with Tibbs wasn't a people guy. Tibbs was an analytical guy.
Right.
He was a component guy. But Brown is more of a people guy, and he's more flexible. And yet a night they're harping on what he did in the championship game for the Cup when he did something that Tibbs would never have done. And people might argue couldn't have done because of the components of the roster.
Right.
But he put a unit out there that he hadn't used all year, featuring Tyler Kolek. And it got the job done for them. When they got the key part of the game, that was the team was out there. They had a couple of their regulars who were on the bench. Would have been unheard of. So that alone proves he's got some flexibility. I think they like playing for him on a personal level. And I think he turns out sometimes you just need a new voice. This is so true, all sports at all times. Sometimes you just need a new voice. And it looks like in retrospect that the decision to fire Tibbs, as unfair as it was in certain ways and in the eyes of so many people, might have benefited the Knicks.
Well, if you take a look at Brown, we know him from Cleveland, and he managed, he was NBA Coach of the Year twice. He
Yeah,
went to the finals in '07, but they lost. He coached the Cleveland team that won 61 games in 2010. They had 66 in 2009. So
yeah,
while he has not won that championship, because I thought he had with Cleveland, they got to the finals and lost.
yeah.
You can't argue the results.
No, not at all. And let's not, and I'm not one to hang, you know, everything on having you have to win necessarily. It's nice to win, but like for example, Don Nelson never won, and
Right.
there's some pretty good coaches in all realms of sports who didn't get the final job done. But no Brown's a good coach, and the Knicks things are good right now. The Rose they need like everybody else they got stay healthy, and they have one guy that they always cross their fingers every night is going to show up or not, and that is Mitchell Robinson. But when he's out there, they're a different team, and when he's not there, then, So
Well, I mean, Bob, we know that when teams get to a certain point and their personalities um, grow, and you need to have a different type of coach.
yeah,
Where as much as we all love Tibbs, because we all do,
yeah.
with this roster, in hindsight, it wasn't going to work.
We
This is a guy, a people, like you said, Casey Jones was a people guy.
People is a total people guy. Total. We had. I'm glad you mentioned him. I'm going to say we lived through one of the greatest examples of coaches for horses for courses. Casey Jones, you couldn't have found a better person to to coach the 85-86 Celtics. You couldn't have found a better person.
Right.
He had a good. He was a total people guy. They loved playing for him. He didn't have to make too many. I always kid him at like two decisions all year. I mean, one of them was to allow uh, Bill Walton to finish one playoff game in Houston, in which he never finished the game. Robert would finish the game, but in this game he left him in game four, and yeah, and he made two big plays to win the game. And the other one is he called out practice during the finals one day when the team needed a break. That was his other decision. Other than that, team managed itself, and he was a great caretaker. The next year, when things fell apart injury wise, he was the worst coach they could have. He
Right.
didn't like playing young players. He didn't take advantage of Reggie Lewis, which he could have. And he was not a good game coach at all in that regard. But guys still swear by him. Walton, my God, Walton, who played for one of the greatest tacticians ever, and John Wooden, still has equal spot in this, had an equal spot in this heart and
Right.
mind for KC, which tells you a lot about what kind of good guy KC was.
Quick break. Tell you this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. It is the holiday season, best time of the year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions on what to buy, what to get, the gifts, who do we give them to, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that is PrizePicks. You just pick more or less. And now with PrizePicks, you can play a number of different ways. You can pick people from different sports. You can combine different situations, different statistical situations with turnovers or touchdowns or points scored or minutes played. A number of ways that you can do it. So PrizePicks is a lot of fun to play, and you can be creative. And you can combine sports. For example, Drake May, is he going to bounce back? So you get a bounce back from that Bills loss, especially in the second half, did not play well. Jaylen Brown, we are talking about on this podcast with Bob Ryan, has been outstanding and should get MVP votes. If you want to pick more with Jaylen, you got to go plus 30 on the points. Yeah, I mean, this guy, and it's good to be right with Jaylen Brown on points. Go more, more or less, go more. Also with PrizePicks, they have a new early payout feature. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, and say you got to go Christmas shopping, you got to meet the family, you got to go to the company Christmas party, whatever, you cash out of those winnings before the game finishes. So you got money in hand, cash in hand to hit them all. That's how you do it with PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Okay, we all know during the holiday season, things can get out of control financially, right? Well, this is how you can keep everything nice and neat, under control. You can do it with an app or you can do it on your laptop. And that's with Monarch. Okay, this is how Monarch works. Keep your finances in complete control. So what you do is it'll take everything, mortgage, utilities, holiday bills, presents, so forth, taxes, and it puts it all in one app, puts it all so you can figure out what's coming in and what's coming out. Okay, and Wall Street loves this. Monarch is rated by Wall Street as the best budgeting app of 2025. It's the all-in-one personal finance tool, as I'm telling you. So you can take your financial life and you can get it under control on your laptop or your phone. And right now, for Monarch listeners, they're offering 50% off your first year. So if you're seeing this right now, you get 50% off your first year. Now, especially if you're maybe moving, you're going to a new house, you get a lot of things in transition, that is a great time to get the Monarch app and start over. Or New Year's resolution, January 1, you get the Monarch app, you put it on your phone, you put it on your laptop. This is what we're going to do. And everybody in the family that's spending money, yes, even if you have some older kids that have their own accounts and so forth, may have a credit card, or you can make sure everybody puts the data into this one app. You, your partner, even like I said, your kids. That's how you can do it. So don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code HOOPS at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with the code HOOPS. For those of you listening to the show, we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. For those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the Celtics All Access YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Celtics content. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. All right, now let's get to the Celtics, because what has been a weekly topic here is to play Tatum or not play Tatum. And what we're witnessing now, and we know how you feel, and we all feel the same way. Don't sacrifice him for the season. But Brad Stevens has come out and said he needs to be 110%, right? So what people need to remember, the player's always going to want to play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the adult in the room, and you want that. You want the player to want to play.
Sure.
So Brad has made it clear, unless this guy is full on, dot the I's, cross the T's, he's not playing.
Put this under the category we love to use in sports, saving him from himself. You've
Right.
got to save the player from himself in this regard. Of course, he wants to play. He's his utter prime of life. Was he 27? That's prime of life. And and he knows how good he is. He won, and he's around all the time. He wants to be part of the action. I understand that. And they're going to have to save him from himself. And I'm glad to hear that from Brad. But then again, I'm not surprised to hear that from Brad because if there's ever a person that's grounded and sane thinking, it's Brad Stevens.
There's no question. I was listening to our good friend Cedric Maxwell this morning with Toucher and Hardy, and he made a very good point. He said, this team has exceeded expectations, but he said in the regular season, you can win games by playing hard. And that's one thing Missoula needs credit for. We've been very critical of his strategy with the threes. But guys play hard for him. They definitely do. But Max's point is playing hard in the playoffs isn't good enough. You need to have the talent too. You can win games during the regular season because guys take games, they take, the regular season. Playoffs going to be a different story. Playing hard is not enough.
I totally endorse that. And Exhibit A was Hubie Brown when in Atlanta. He got every last ounce out of what he had to work with and got them to the playoffs, but they weren't going to win. And that's that. No, this is a good point, a very good point. I'll stick. See, I'm going to try and stay the course, Gary.
Well, I know you are. You got it.
You know what I've been saying from the beginning that my range was 37 wins to 45 before the season started, and if they play really really well, they'll approach the 45. If they don't, they'll hang around the mid 30s. And what they are, what this says is they are. I called it a 500-ish team.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the 41, 41, 42, 40, 42 range. That's, I think, and they played better than that to this point, as a rule. And that's fine, but I'm not going to get off. I'm going to stick with it. I don't want to get, I totally endorse what Max is saying. My favorite thing about, the most gratifying thing about what's happened so far is, and I feel really happy for Jaylen Brown, that he has played the way he's played in the absence of Tatum, shown people, hey, guess what? We all questioned, should he or could he be a number one? Well, damn it, he's been a number one. And he's been a complete go-to guy at both ends of the floor for this team. He's been terrific. One of the top 10 players in the league at the rate.
I hope he gets some MVP votes. He's not going to win it, but I hope he gets some votes.
The thing I like, I love what we've seen with Jordan Walsh and Ugo Gonzalez. And Walsh, I think I said he's Marcus Smart on training wheels.
Right.
And Gonzalez at that size, that mid-range size, I'm risking a lot here, but we haven't had a guy play that hard consistently with that as his calling card, which is playing his ass off since Dave Cowens. And that's a big I'm not saying he's going to be Dave Cowens.
Right, we understand.
I'm talking about this component of Cowens, which was the relentless activity. This kid comes to play every play. And now he sometimes he gets he's going to commit fouls maybe. Guess what? People in case people worry about whether he's going to commit fouls or not, he'll learn. Dave Cowens, his rookie year, do you know that he fouled out 15 times?
Yeah, I knew. Yeah,
He fouled out 15 times. He never came close to that again.
Right.
He never came close to that again. Part of it was referees started to respect him, gave him that star benefit of the doubt. Part of it. The other part was he rationed himself. He figured it out. He figured out how to, what's stupid and what's crazy and what's foolish and what's aggressive. And he figured it out. This kid has got a foundation that you can't teach. You can't teach that. You can give a guy technique or shot, but you can't teach what that kind of spunk and hustle that he's got. I'm so happy to have this kid.
This is a tough question to answer, but I'm going to open it up for discussion because I think it's one of those great barroom debates where there is no right answer. To be fair to Jaylen Brown, if Jaylen Brown was hurt and Tatum was playing, how much of a difference would it make?
Well, based on what we're getting out of Tatum and considering the rest of the thing, it was just that we've lost three other guys. It wasn't just Tatum.
Thank you.
The team that he would have been playing with, I don't think he could accomplish anything more. I don't see it.
And that's not, and that is not, folks, that we are not dissing Tatum. We are complimenting Brown.
Right, exactly. I don't think that Tatum could have accomplished much more anymore. And I mean, Brown has got a succession of 30 points. He's shooting 50%. And but because he's mastered the mid-range game and he's figuring out that's my bread and butter now. And between that and going to the basket, okay, I can shoot threes too, which is that's the way I love to see, which everybody thought, instead of making the three the be all and end all. But he's been challenging DeMar DeRozan as Mr. Mid-range this year. Yeah.
And we love the mid-range jumper, don't
Well,
we?
we do. We don't, mid-range. I don't want to get into this topic about the worst shot in basketball was the long two. We'll save that. I'll table that one. But the clear mid-range, yes, we love that.
Okay, Bob, let's do let's have some fun. We have a list for Larry Bird. His Bob went to work on this. Um, Larry Bird's best 5 games, correct?
Yes, that's what I was asked to compile, and
Yes.
and indeed I have as best I can. Okay, Larry Bird, number 5 was on March 12th, 1985, in Lakefront Coliseum, New Orleans, Louisiana, against the Atlanta Hawks in one of their home away from home games, when Larry Bird scored 60 points, which is still the Celtic scoring record.
And you were there. Were you there?
I wasn't there. Our great friend Dan Shaughnessy was there covering. I was not on the beat that year. I was elsewhere. But that game, in 43 minutes, he shot 22 for 36 from the floor, 15 for 16 from the line, and by the way, 2 for 3 on threes. That's all it was to score 60 points. And now there's a great backstory, which is why this is so much fun. 9 days previous, on Sunday afternoon, March 3rd, the Celtics played the Pistons at home, and Kevin McHale set the new Celtics scoring record of 56 points. After which, the game in which Larry Bird said to him, Kevin, you should have scored 60. Kidding him. He allowed Kevin to keep that record for 9 days. On the 12th of March, after he scored 60 and knocked Kevin out of the number 1 spot. I just think that's one of the funniest juxtapositions. He truly did say to Kevin, you should have scored 60, and then went out and got 60. Now, the other great fallout from that game that people remember, they won the game naturally, of course, is the Atlanta bench. The reaction of the Atlanta bench on one particular three-pointer that Larry made in front of their face, falling out of bounds, and two of them are like they fell off the bench. Their reaction was hilarious.
That's respect.
The great show of respect. Okay, that's number 5. Okay, let's see. Yeah, get my order here. Yeah, number 4. Number 4 was on the 8th of June, 1984, Game 5 of the finals against the Los Angeles Lakers. And we were in a heat wave in Boston, and it was in the all unair conditioned garden, 98 degrees Fahrenheit when the game started. Celtics win a game 121-103 or something like that. Larry Bird, in this incredibly and ridiculous conditions, scored 34 points, 17 rebounds, and shot 15 for 20. And a game with the Lakers, I just wanted to go home. And we're talking about the oxygen for the Lakers.
Oh, right.
ML Carr walking around with a little electric fan. We're talking about never have so many people worn so little clothing at the Boston Garden than that night. Every woman was in halter tops and shorts, and guys were in shorts and T-shirts. And it was a surreal event. And I mean, and in these ridiculous conditions, Larry Bird had the master of mind over matter. One of his truly majestic performances. So I'll repeat once again, in 98-degree temperature, 34 points, 17 rebounds, and shot 15 for 20. Okay. Number 3. Okay. Was in what's the date of that one? 84. Oh, May 13th, 1984. I wasn't there either, by the way. Game 7 against the Knicks. And Larry Bird, this was the people that were there. I remember Lee Montville, a great columnist, wrote a wonderful column about it. This is, remember, at the end of a very hotly contested series. This is the Bernard King series. This is Bernard King in his peak, and he personally is carrying the Knicks all the way to the seventh game. Hubie Brown's the coach, which was fun, and it's a terrific series. And Game 7 in Boston, a Sunday afternoon. Larry says, "Okay, enough's enough." The numbers tell you how big it was, but the feel of it from the way he did it will linger. He had 39 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists in the Game 7. By the way, only 1 for 2 on threes. I love that. And 42 minutes. That game was one of his truly great games, and the clutch nature of it, and the one-upsmanship of eventually after King had such a great series. You got to get that in there for Larry. That's number 3. Number 2, 22nd of May, 1988. One of the truly extraordinary games in the entire history of the NBA. And I'm going to tell you why. This is the famous shootout with Dominique Wilkins. Final score of that game was 118-116. We're going to get to why that's significant in a minute. This is the game in which Larry Bird and Dominique engaged in this gunfight at OK Corral.
Right.
In the fourth quarter, when Dominique, en route to 47 points, scored 16 points in the fourth quarter. And Larry said, "Okay, that's pretty good." He got 20. Larry was 9 for 10 in the fourth quarter, en route to 34 points. At one point, I believe in 3 separate possessions up and down, Larry scored, Dominique scored. Larry scored, Dominique scored. Larry.
Right.
It was just drama, superb drama. Now, read Auerbach about this. I'll save this for last. In the fourth quarter of this game, Gary, think about this. At the highest level of competition in a conference finals, each team scored on 17 of its 22 possessions.
Wow.
How's that for efficient offense?
How many threes? How many were threes, Bob? I'm joking.
I got some numbers for you. In the entire game, all right, there were 234 points scored in this game. Now, Larry, by the way, in this game was 1 for 3 on threes, in case you're wondering.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, he scored. Okay. In the fourth quarter, each team scored on 17 out of 22 possessions. There were only 42 available defensive rebounds in the entire game, because the Celtics shot 61% for the game and the Hawks shot 57%. People say we ain't the defense. No, this is the greatest consummate offensive skill imaginable. It's not no defense. This is consummate offense. Okay. Now, the greatest number of all. You ready for this? 234 points, 15 combined at turnovers.
Wow.
Combined. Now, among other things, Kevin McHale had a casual 33. Randy Whitman went 10 for 12. And Glenn Doc Rivers, one of his greatest games, he had 16 points and 20 assists in defeat. But think about that game, those numbers. Oh, all of which, and the game goes down, by the way, to the final possession with the Celtics leading by 3, and Dominique is going to the line. And he, excuse me, by 2, and the 3. He makes the first one. He deliberately misses the second one in the hopes of getting it back. But Robert gets the rebound, knocks it over to DJ, and game's over. Red Auerbach on this game, and I quote directly, "That's the best fourth quarter I've seen in 42 years in the NBA."
Wow.
If there's a game you'd like to see over again, that's pretty high on the list.
That's the one, man.
Okay. Finally, guys, number 1, the winner for Bob Ryan, who was there. And this is a game when Larry Bird truly and utterly put it all underlined together. This is Game 6, 1986. The 20, excuse me, what's the date? Doesn't matter. Okay, it's June. Oh, it's also June 8th. Game 7 against the 6 against the Rockets. We come home and the Celtics lost a very bitter game 5, and they were manhandled a little bit. And we come home, and Larry assures one and all on Saturday afternoon practice at the Garden, everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about it, folks. We're going to be okay. Okay. Larry went out and played the greatest two-way game of his life. The offensive numbers aren't that dazzling. You say, what's the big deal, Bob? 29, 12, and 10. It's triple-double. Nice triple-double. He played the best defense I ever saw him play. He was everywhere. And Jim Peterson of the Hawks said, you just saw 5, the Rockets said, you just saw one man beat 5. He even got a jump ball from Elijah Wan. I don't know how he did that, but he did. But he was never more omnipresent on defense. He was in passing lanes all night, all afternoon, and he just was. It was the greatest. If you want to know how to, I say this, you want to show somebody how to play basketball, put that tape on and let them watch Larry Bird. That's how you play basketball. Very few people have ever played a game like that before or since, himself included. He never put it together again, the way he did that day. So that's my number one.
Bob, outstanding work as always. Bob, Ryan, Gary Tanguay, brought to you by PrizePicks. This holiday season, things are going to get crazy. You got to buy gifts for everyone else. You got to figure out where to eat, what to watch. There's only one place where it feels good to be right, and that is PrizePicks.